Hi, friends.
What's up?
It's Caitlin and Shanika with Get Checkered, and Get Checkered is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown and community supported. And we are kind of recording from all over the place. So I am in Wausau in BC, and Caitlin is at a very empty looking apartment.
It's a little bit embarrassing. It's in a state of disarray right now. Moving out. So there's a lot that's like to be sold and to be donated, to be taken with me. There's just still a lot left, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, it's happening, y'all. Like in 4 or 5 days, Caitlin will be living in British Columbia. So if anyone wants to be her friend, I'm sure she'll. I mean, didn't even have a chance to ask you, but like, what is going on with your classes? Are you remote at all? Or do you know?
Yes, we have been told that we will be going online at least until January 24th.
Okay,
So that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like move to a new place and it's just going to be online. I could have stayed here, but I got to be living on campus and see what's going on, I guess.
Yeah.
So make the most of it. Yeah.
Exactly. And plus, we've been having a really cold couple of.
Oh my Lord, you guys, if you are not aware, or yes, okay, so if you're not aware, I'm very jealous because Alberta literally takes up like 8 of the 10 coldest spots in the world right now.
It is so cold. It was so funny. We actually got a Slack message from one of the teammates over at F1 Chronicle. And they're like, "Oh, we hope it's not too cold over there, George. If you're listening, giving you a little shout out here."
No, it's pretty cold. It's pretty cold, man.
Yeah, he's like, "Hope it's not too cold." I'm like, "Do you understand how cold it is right now?" It is the coldest it's ever been.
Like my car, I have a good car.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if my car was going to start. Like it was like minus 30 last night, and then with the minus 40 wind chill, like it was not enjoyable.
And this is all obviously degrees Celsius. So if you are listening from the States, which
minus 40 degrees Celsius is minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. I was gonna say, I was like, but there's really no conversion when there's Celsius. So and also we know that our audience, now that it's like the end of the year, 33% of them are for the United States. And what I didn't know, or I'm surprised, is that the majority are men. A slight majority, but hey, we'll take it. If you're glad that you're all listening to us talk about astrology tied to the sport. Anyways, today we're just gonna like shoot the shit a little bit and talk about just what we think is gonna happen in 2022. There's nothing else really going on. The teams are all on Christmas holidays. We got tons of photos from all of the drivers in front of Christmas trees. Everywhere
except Lewis Hamilton. Do we want to just briefly touch on that? We are 2 weeks and a bit out from Abu Dhabi and he's still been silent. I think his brother had something on Instagram I saw today saying like he's doing okay, but he just still doesn't want to talk to anyone,
which fair.
That's fair. Yeah,
to be honest. So yeah, he's the only one that hasn't posted anything. And there hasn't been that much news either. I think it's like, right, it's people just chilling.
I know it's not official one way or the other if Lewis is decided to retire or not, but I've seen lots of articles being like he's definitely probably not retiring. Yeah, and I hope that's the case. I hope he comes back.
There was, I don't know if ever Formula Racers, not that I'm calling them out, but they're a Twitter account and sometimes they post memes and sometimes they don't. Like, I'm just not sure. So I can't tell if it's like real or not, but Lewis is continuing hopefully next year, which maybe it brings us to the first question I got for you, Caitlin. With 2022 new regulations, new cars, all the whole thing, I have some, like, I know what I would like to see happen with Lewis and Mercedes, but do you think Lewis will be top form and same with Mercedes and be back in that number 1 spot? Caitlin's face.
I really don't know what's happening with the new cars and stuff. I really don't. So like we definitely know, and the drivers will agree that Lewis, looking back on that Sao Paulo GP, he was like next level driver. The car was good, but he was great.
Yeah.
So I think like he's definitely capable of still being the best with more competitive cars across the whole field. His motivation though, I don't know. TBH. I think it's definitely taken a mental bite out of him.
Yeah.
So if his head's not fully in it, do I think it'll be a safety risk? It could be, but that wasn't what first came to mind, even though it's what I said first, you guys. I think it might take him a while to get back into things.
And I think that's my concern because we know that this year it did take him a while to kind of get comfortable. And then within that time it took him to get comfortable, Max just really brought his A game. And then at the end, yes, Lewis finally became comfortable and was like clearly driving some of the best drives of his career. But it almost was a little bit too much of that, like too late, if that makes sense. Like it would have been nice to have that. So I just hope that he takes the much needed break from social and comes back, in when they start testing in early next year to kick in some ass and like hopefully can do what he does best. So we'll have to see what ends up happening there. Speaking of the Mercedes team though, Georgie's getting the upgrade. What do you think is going to happen with him next year?
So, okay. Here's what could be interesting is if Lewis takes his time to like have a bit of a warm up after going through this mental ball mess.
Yeah.
So is Georgie kind of outperform him or outshine him in the first few races? Maybe. Because like it's been proven that George can do well in a Mercedes.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm so curious to just see what happens because this is a matchup that we haven't seen technically, right? Like even in Sakia Grand Prix, it was Valtteri and George, and that's when everyone was like, wait a minute. But seeing Lewis and George, like, I don't know what that's gonna look like at all.
Right. And it's like, I think in a normal time, so let's say Lewis won this 2021 championship.
Yeah.
His headspace would be very good going into next year. And him and George, I think, like he could be a lot more of a mentor to George. I think he still will be, but like in the way that like he won't be chasing that 8th championship versus we know Lewis probably still will be now, right? Yeah. So he has to have a bit of a selfish streak to see if he can still win that 8th, and George is going to have to try and help him with that. Versus if he won this year, maybe it could be more of a like transition off for Lewis, and like they have like 1 or 2 great seasons together, and then he starts giving George all the freedom to be the next Mercedes star or something. But I don't know what's happening next year because of, what we saw in Abu Dhabi this year. So I really have no idea. I'm just excited to see it. I am excited for next year.
I think the one thing that I hope George brings, because with Valtteri was really good with qualifying. And sometimes like I'll qualify Lewis. Like we saw that happen. We actually got that wrong in our last episode. It's fine. Just check the notes and we made adjustments. It's fine. But I'm hoping with George that he can bring consistency on race day, which is where Valtteri really struggled. And it was something I was talking to, who was I talking to? I don't know, someone in my family. I don't know, whoever I've seen over the last 2 days. But just Valtteri is, how do we say this? He's just like a sweet, gentle soul, which is really, really great. But when you have a teammate that, should pass someone in a lap and it takes him 6 because he's not aggressive, like that makes it hard.
I don't think George is going to be like that. I think George is a bit more ferocious, like we saw in Imola, right? It's a bit more spunk.
Exactly. Do you think he'll finish next year in the top 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he doesn't, I will be shell shocked because
I think Mercedes has probably an expectation he's in the top 10, of course. Top 5 maybe is their hope.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. I think that's completely fair, especially seeing the season Carlos Sainz has had. In a Mercedes, I feel like it's more than possible for George to pull in that top 5 for sure, without fail. Moving on to the competitor, Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing. Any thoughts? Any ideas on what you think is going to happen?
I have no idea. This episode's so hard because I really don't know what's gonna happen with the new cars. Um, I think Max will still be one of the best drivers out there. Him and Lewis are in a league of their own.
Yeah.
Just will they be as far out? Probably not. From everyone else, but I think Max is title contender again.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
wonder. Oh, and maybe we can do that question later, title contenders. But I do think Max is a title contender next year, of course.
Yeah.
And Lewis, too. Yes.
She said it like she's pulling teeth. I'm curious to see what ends up happening with, like you said, it's so hard to know just because the cars are new. But we've kind of seen it with Lewis and then even with Michael Schumacher, where a lot of them like win several back to back. So I'm wondering if we're now entering the era where Max Verstappen just like wins back to back.
But also, Lewis lost the 2016 to Rosberg
Exactly.
and came back with a vengeance.
And then came back and won a bunch. So I don't know.
But Rosberg left.
That's the thing. And Max has stayed. So I just don't know. I just don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm curious to just see because I don't know. We'll see. It's hard. If you're watching us on YouTube, what you can see is Caitlin is also playing with her cat simultaneously, and Fergus has brought her like a cat toy numerous times over. And yes,
he was spoiled for Christmas. Yeah, they have so many toys.
See, as he deserves it. Speaking of Red Bull, though, his teammate Sergio. So I got two questions tied to him. One is we know he's got the 1-year contract extension. I do think though Red Bull, my assumption would be that they want him to finish higher than he did this year. And I guess my first question is, do you think he will? And the second question is, do you think he'll get another contract extension? Because Sergio he's not young, he's not old, but there are definitely tons of younger drivers that can take in that spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, to be brutally honest, I think Perez can do better in some of the races. Like, I have high hopes for him to win that Mexican GP now, you guys. Putting that into the atmosphere, I hope that happens. Do I think he'll end up better in the Drivers' Championship? Maybe, because it's not going to be Valtteri, it's going to be George, but he's not going to crack top 2. Those are pretty much sacred, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But could a McLaren or Ferrari even beat him next year if the car's more even? Yes. So I don't think overall he'll do that much more impressive. Like, he had a phenomenal season this year. I think if he continues that for next year, it's great for Red Bull. But knowing the Red Bull management, they'll pull someone younger in for 2023. That's my prediction.
I actually like completely agree with you. I think for Sergio next year, and this is the challenge though, right? Like, this is something that Valtteri spoke about. Not having stability is extremely stressful, and we don't know these drivers personally, so Sergio might carry the stress differently. He's done really well in a car that Red Bull admitted is outfitted the way that Max needs it, not the way that
anyone else
needs it. But I really think if he can't perform in the way of bringing Red Bull the constructors next year, then he likely will not get a contract extension. But I do think that would hurt Red Bull because they've had such a tough time filling that seat, that now that you have someone that can actually do it, like, is it even worth swapping it? You know what I mean?
I have a sneaky suspicion Alex Albon will be involved.
I actually agree with you too.
There's no way Alex Albon agreed to go to Williams and still will like be this dedicated to Red Bull without being told something for the future.
100%. And we know that Christian Horner said that they do have like an option available for 2023 with Alex. And that was part of the agreement that was set up when he went to Williams. So they're definitely thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll definitely talk about Alex and the Williams later, but I think who was number 3? It was Ferrari this year, right? number 3.
Yep, Ferrari kind of cleared McLaren after we were commenting for a few races. We're like, oh my god, they're neck and neck, and then Ferrari just kind of don't step on the computer, honey. Don't step there.
Yeah, Ferrari came in and just blew them out of the water, which is why it's been surprising. I don't know if you've been seeing, like, so the F1 posted their driver standings, and so did ESPN F1.
Yep.
And I've got a bone to pick with everyone. I don't know why Lando Norris is in 3 on both of those lists, when towards the end of the season, that guy just like disappeared.
Okay, Shanika, you and I both put him as 3 too. Let's just remember that. But we had Carlos way ahead of him. We had Carlos in 1.
Exactly.
And they put Carlos in 4 and 5 and stuff. And
yeah, and I'm like, truthfully, how is he higher than Carlos Sainz? I don't understand it. Is it
like beginning for if we broke it into 2 separate, like first half of the season and second half of the season? Yes, Lando definitely would have been 3rd, arguably 2nd.
Yeah,
or arguably 1st, because he was just like surprise.
Yeah, and
amazing.
Like, yeah, 100%.
But then in second half, God, that boy was like 9th, in my opinion.
He just disappeared. So I think it's very confusing. Anyways, talking about Ferrari, I definitely think this is the team to watch next year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think they're excited. I hope they're dynamic, like, because we don't actually see what really they feel. We only see what they put in front of camera. I hope that Charles and Carlos don't get too competitive with each other. They are competitive by nature, so likely, but I think they are great for Ferrari. And I just hope it doesn't come into whole like Max and Daniel Ricciardo thing at Red Bull, because they were pretty neck and neck, and now these two C's, the C squared at Ferrari, are pretty neck and neck. So
no, 100%. I think that they're going to have to figure out what they want to do for quote unquote team orders, because I don't even know if it makes sense. Like in this case, this year, I definitely fell under the assumption that Carlos Sainz is going to be just a number 2 driver, which this is my bad. I made an assumption. You should never make assumptions. But he didn't, right? Like he ended up being consistent and finishing before his teammate. So I think there is going to be some questions for Ferrari come the new year on how they're going to handle these 2 drivers that are doing really, really, really well.
You see how gross this is? It's like 2 days old.
Okay, for the audio listeners, Caitlin's holding up a mouse toy, and
like my cats have destroyed all their mouse toys, so they got new ones, and this one's already gross.
But yeah, I just don't know how they're going to manage it, and I think that'll be quite telling, because if they can't manage that, then I don't think the team will be as successful as they want to be. But they are the team, for me at least, like the ones to watch next year. And
I have a hope. Okay,
what's your hope?
I hope they can crack 2nd in the constructors.
I think that they can. I think that they can if Charles had a lot of bad luck this year, but if Carlos remains consistent, and if Sergio,
he had 0 DNFs.
Yeah, 0 DNFs. And typically there's at least like each driver has
2. Yeah. No, that's spectacular.
Yeah. So, and the one time he didn't finish in the points, I think there was like twice, maybe once, I know for sure. He was in 11th. So it wasn't even like he was like 17th. It was like he was just out of the points. So Carlos Sainz, no idea. But yeah, I think he's like definitely one to watch. I do think that because the drivers are so great, that they can bring the constructors home. Like I think they can do it.
You think first?
I think they can bring it in first.
Damn.
You have to think of the fact that George is also year 1 in a Mercedes, and he might be brilliant, like adjust to the car as quickly as Carlos did to the Ferrari, but that's a big factor, right? Is the year 1 in the cars generally cause headaches, and we've seen that, with pretty much everyone else. But that's why, coming back to these like freaking driver ratings, it makes no sense to me that Carlos is below Lando, because it's year 1 in the Ferrari and he outperformed like the child prodigy that is like Charles Leclerc. So,
see, I thought it was a bit ambitious to like say prediction from 3rd to 1st, but you make a good point, because will Red Bull keep it first? Like, who would get the 1st place if Ferrari got 2nd? Mercedes? Questionable. Red Bull, maybe,
I
but
don't know.
huh, I don't think McLaren's gonna be up for this challenge to Ferrari. Right? I think Lando, I hope he gets his rollback.
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo, I don't think was made for McLaren.
Oh, these are some fighting words. So we should talk about McLaren now. Okay.
Let's get to
So,
McLaren. Yeah. I think Daniel Ricciardo
yeah.
is a fantastic driver. He's had a hard time adjusting to the McLaren. I don't know if he'll adjust next year.
Oh,
I
devastating.
mean, prove me wrong. Happily prove me wrong, but I don't think so. I think he'll be after Lando again.
I agree, actually. I don't think he will. I think there might be a race or two where he finishes above Lando, but I think the season as a whole, I don't see
Like
Daniel
he,
beating Lando.
I'm pretty like he won Monza
Yeah.
because it was team orders.
Yeah.
Lando could have won that.
Yeah. I feel like we're deeply insulting Daniel
I
Ricciardo.
know, and I'm sorry. I don't want to be. I'm just doing predictions, and I don't like to be wrong with predictions, so I speak the truth in my head. But
Yeah, I completely
if
agree.
Daniel Ricciardo could go to another team, go back to Red Bull.
Do you think that would work though?
I have no idea. He was very comfortable with that car, but he left for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's feasible, but
So
it's just
thinking
like,
about
hmm?
McLaren as the team, you don't think that they will have like so with Ferrari, I'm saying that they're gonna like run up that constructors list for sure, just because of the driving team. And you're saying that you don't think McLaren will even come close to the Ferrari and the
McLaren
constructors.
won't come close to Ferrari, but they could still, I think, end up fourth.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think Alpine or AlphaTauri will break fourth.
mhm.
But they'll have a good competition again, I hope. They're keeping the exact same people. So yeah, I think they'll stay even. um, but yeah, the top three will shuffle, but I think McLaren will stay four.
I think so too. And it comes back to what you're saying. It's Daniel Ricciardo. I do wonder though. I don't remember how long his contract is. It's either a 2 year or a 3 year. So there is potential that in 2023, Danny Rick, like, do you think he'll end up staying at McLaren?
McLaren? I don't know where else he would go. Um, unless like Valtteri brings Alfa Romeo to like, oh maybe no, because Guan Yu's there.
Yeah.
Alpha could be coming in like seventh, but I don't think Daniel Ricciardo. They can't afford to have Valtteri and Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo's expensive.
Yeah, it's his like years of experience, but I'm curious to see how he just does next year. With Lando, how many races do you think he's gonna win next year?
I think he's gonna win one. He'll come in second and third
Okay.
in a few.
I think he's gonna win one too. And I think he'll get like 3 third place
Maybe
finishes
he wins Monza next year. This seems to be a very good race for them.
for the McLarens. Exactly. Maybe they'll repeat, but this time swap positions and still do a double podium.
Right?
Yeah, but I think that Lando will win a race next year.
I think Charles will win one too.
Hmm?
I don't think Carlos will.
You are so I think Carlos could.
Oh, he could. I'm telling you my brutal truth. I think Charles can win the races. I think Carlos will be consistent with twos and threes.
Twos and threes.
Yeah.
Unless the team order thing that we talked about kicks in and it's like a Monza situation.
I don't think they would do that to Charles. I don't think they would.
I mean, we'll have to see. So Caitlin is predicting Charles on the podium next year and the first position.
Maybe Charles does well in Monaco. That'd be nice.
Finally gets the W there. Yeah.
Finally.
For him. Do you think going back to McLaren, no, we'll talk about that later actually. But I just don't know what's gonna happen, like you said, next year. Like I think it's a really tough call with these cars and how the drivers are gonna adapt to it. I do think though if Daniel Ricciardo can't figure it out next year, like he's kind of screwed in terms of like where do you go for teams?
Mhm.
Just with so many young drivers, there's so many other people that they can bring into a team.
Yep.
So I don't know. And we'll have to see with that one. I don't know who's next in the drivers. Do you remember? Is it Alpine or constructors? No, it's
Who finished on top? Was it Alpha Tauri?
no, it was Alpine.
It was Alpine. Okay.
Yeah, they finished
Okay.
on top. Okay, predictions for Alpine. Where do you think they're going to be in
Oh
the
my God, I'm
constructors?
sorry. Oh, that's my father. Can we just pause this?
Yeah.
He will be. Hello?
Okay. We just took a quick break because Caitlin's dad called, but what did he say?
So my father does not watch Formula One, you guys. But he knows I do the podcast. So I'm telling him we're sorry, Dad, we're in the middle of an episode. And he's like, that guy got ripped off. And I was like, Dad, yes, tell me more. Tell me what you're thinking as a very like first time watcher of the sport. He's like, he was ripped off. He was clearly in front. The guy didn't stand a chance in hell of catching up to him. And like, I love it.
Caitlin, I think it's so sweet that he's like showing interest in something.
I know. I'm like, it's true though. So I'm going to pick my father up from the airport in a few hours and we'll talk about it in the car. But I think Dad's on Team Lewis Hamilton for Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yes, I think many people
Right?
are on Team Lewis Hamilton, at least for Abu Dhabi, because it was crazy.
Anyway, sorry that was a side tangent, but we were talking about Alpine, folks.
Oh, right. Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso. Obviously, the surprise of the season is Fernando Alonso showing up and kicking ass.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting it. I don't think anyone else was expecting it.
Except for Alex,
Yeah.
a friend here that we met at the pub.
Yeah, he knew the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel similar to you where I don't know with the Ferrari team just being so consistent and the upgrades to the car, like I think that they with Alpine, I just don't know where they would like how much higher could they go basically because everyone else is also improving and changing things. So I think they'll stay at like number 5 in the constructors.
I think it's going to be a battle again with AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
I think all 4 drivers between those 2 teams will improve next year.
Yeah.
Not enough to crack the top 4 teams though. But regardless, they're all going to improve. I see Fernando Alonso getting more comfortable with the car.
Yeah.
Esteban Ocon has his first win. Like he seems pretty cozy in that spot, if you ask me. French team, French driver.
Yeah.
They're
like,
but should it be because they have Oscar Piastri as their reserve driver?
Yeah, and I guess something we didn't talk about Ferrari is that Mick is going to also be so Ferrari has 2 reserve drivers. One is the Antonio Giovinazzi, but he's splitting the role with Mick Schumacher. So you can already see like the wheels turning at Ferrari about like what does succession look like. But
oh my God, but they're both young. What does that mean? Does that go into Carlos's head?
That's the one thing I'm worried about is like, is Carlos going to get the bump a little bit sooner than he was expecting?
I wouldn't put it past Ferrari management. Anyways,
with Alpine, do you have any predictions for Fernando Alonso and podiums?
I think Fernando will get some more podiums. 3s. I see Ocon getting 3s too. I don't see another win. I would not have foresaw that one win in Hungary because it was one up. So it might happen again for him. He seems to be in the right place at the right time. So who knows? But other than that,
I am going to say Fernando Alonso will get a W, like a P.
Oh,
I'm going to say it.
That's ambitious.
Crazier things have happened. None of us thought Esteban would take it. So
You know, a team we need to talk about, Aston Martin, because where did they fall? They were 7, I think.
yeah, they had an atrocious season.
Okay, we'll get there though. We'll get there. I only bring it up because Sebastian Vettel is experienced, right? Like Fernando Alonso. I would see Sebastian Vettel getting a win over Alonso.
Okay. Well, Kayla and I. This episode is basically us just documenting things for next year to see if we were right.
I know.
Yeah, but I also think that with Esteban, he'll probably get P3s and then maybe like a surprise P2. And what I mean a surprise P2 is like similar to what's happened to Carlos all season. Just random.
He's there, right? He's there at the right spot.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I could see that happening for Esteban, or something similar to what happened to Sebastian with like, you know how the fuel or something was off for him in Hungary?
Oh.
Like something random like that happening that pulls a podium from someone. I could see that happening and then bumping Esteban into a P2 finish. Okay. So talking about the team that they're going to be battling, AlphaTauri. I actually looked this up. So as you all know, AlphaTauri, I have like
why are you using a lotion as your pointer stick right now?
Using it as a conductor, basically. Anyways, AlphaTauri was initially Toro Rosso, and there was only one season that Toro Rosso finished the whole season ahead of Red Bull, and that was like in 2008 or something. So with that in mind, I don't see AlphaTauri going any higher than 5 in the constructors.
No, I don't either. Pierre and Yuki are going to get better. I think we're going to see some great stuff from them. Could Pierre get another win? I could see it. He was doing good.
He was so good this year. He like truly did the best possible in that car.
I think Yuki's going to have P4 and maybe a surprise P3.
Okay. I'll get on board with that. I can see a P4 surprise P3. I guess a bigger question for him is if he doesn't perform next year, I don't think they're going to extend his contract.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think he'll be like maybe back to like a reserve driver or something, or maybe over to Formula E.
I think the expectations are going up for these drivers, right? Because like the drivers are staying, and there needs to be made room for like the top 2 drivers coming from the feeder series now, right? And like they're not even getting spots, so these spots are almost becoming like more competitive.
100%. And also the expectations going up because all the cars are getting more to a level playing field, right? So it's like you can't just be happy in a P5 to 6 finish that you've always gotten, which Pierre has consistently gotten, because now everyone else also has the capability of getting that slot. So you need to be aiming for higher than that. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think Pierre will get on the podium. So right now, Caitlin, we've mentioned like with each team, at least like one of them is going to get a podium, which
okay, lots of teams did this year too.
That's true.
I don't think it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I think like Pierre Gasly will get a P1, but I also think he'll get a few P3s.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and I really hope that for him, and I hope that with that happening, that it opens up some options for him in 2023 in leaving AlphaTauri, because
I hope he gets out of the Red Bull family.
I agree. You and I talk about it all the time that, you know, if Lewis retires in 2023, then
could it be Mercedes?
Could it be Mercedes? Could Pierre Gasly and George Russell be like leading Mercedes? How do we feel? Caitlin's it's a no.
I don't see it.
The other alternative option is that Pierre goes to Alpine, French driver, French team.
Yeah, they could want that.
They might want.
But does Alonso want to leave by 2023? I don't think so.
No,
he's like a little firecracker. He wants to keep going.
Drive more. And
now, do I think if Danny Rick doesn't do good this year, he gets the block, like the chop from McLaren, does Gasly maybe take a chance at McLaren?
McLaren. That's a good option. I didn't even think of that one. I love how I'm like aiming so high. I just want him to go to Mercedes.
Who could take the place of Lewis? I really don't even know. That's an end of an era. That's something it's hard to think about, right?
Yeah, because when he retires, it will be like Caitlin said, it's just the beginning of the end of that era, which is the
Mhm.
era of the Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, like that age range as well. These people that really grew
Mhm.
up together and raced together. So you're right. It's hard to imagine what that would look like because he's literally been in the sport for so long. But it's probably going to happen in 2023. I don't see him racing past that, to be honest.
Yep.
He'll have
I don't
to.
know.
Who was next? Oh God. We need to talk
So
about the devastation that is Aston Martin. Like,
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
not a good season for them.
They were so forgettable.
Yeah. So forgettable. And F1, they put out a video of like funniest moments of 2021 or something. And the moment that I forgot happened, Caitlin, and I think you probably forgot this too, is when where was it raining? It was Sochi, right? That it was raining a lot.
Only at the end.
Yeah.
Spa was raining a lot.
I don't know if it was Sochi or Spa, one of the two where it was raining a ton. Lance Stroll is driving along and his team, they call him and they say, hey, can you drive in these conditions on those tires? Because he's not on inters. And he screams back, yes. And then as soon as he says yes, he ends up sliding and crashing into the ferry. It will never not be funny. That is like one of the best memes.
Oh my god. I don't even know what race that's from.
I'll send you the video. It's so funny. But what do you think is going to happen with this team? So Aston Martin, when they were Racing Point, we talked about it, but they basically bought parts from Mercedes, and their car when they were in the last season as Racing Point was the third best on the grid. Like third best. They were so strong. And now they've completely fallen down the ranks. So I just don't know what it's going to look like. I think the only saving grace for that team right now is that Lance Stroll's dad's got a whole lot of money and doesn't seem to care how much he's spending on this team.
Yeah, but for a cost cap sport, that
That's
shouldn't
true. That is so
matter.
true.
They are poaching a lot of good people from other teams.
Yeah.
So is that going to help them? Maybe. But yeah, I don't
Where do you think
know.
they're going to be in the constructors next year? What spot do you think they'll be contending for? Maybe that's a better question. If we can't
Maybe
predict
fifth. Maybe
fifth,
fifth.
yeah. I think like if they're probably contending for a P5 too finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I hope
So
and we love Sebastian Vettel.
yeah,
Right? We love the work he does. He's a great voice for like social I don't even know
change
social
issues.
changes,
Yeah.
environmental impacts, etc., etc. We think that needs to happen more. I want him to stay in the sport, but I don't know if he is finding enjoyment in even being with Aston Martin.
He did say he feels like it's more like home, which is good.
Well, he's coming from Ferrari, which is really bad environment. So anything's gotta be better than that for him, right?
Yeah. Sorry, as I'm like moving if you're watching this on YouTube, but I need to get to a charger.
Nice. Hey, there's a cat up on me. Hey, honey.
The chaos of this episode. Let me just put it in here. Okay. Anyways, I think he'll continue racing as long as Aston Martin will have him. But I think if Aston Martin is like, we want someone else, I don't think he'll have the option. Like, I don't think any other team would take him at that point.
Yeah, I don't either.
But you
I
said
don't
you
think
want him to
Hmm?
get a P1 finish next year.
I do. And I can see that happening over a Fernando Alonso P1. Okay, you're just gonna get Clover on the screen from here on out, I guess.
That's fine. She's a sweet
Yeah,
angel.
honey,
She's my
honey.
favorite of Caitlin's cats.
Don't say that.
Okay. Fine. We both love the cats. I love the cats.
They're both
equally.
lovable.
Yes, but Clover is such a sweet angel. Fine, I'll give you that. I do think Sebastian Vettel will be a P1. He will get it. He will get it. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I think he'll get like a few P2 finishes and maybe a surprise P3.
I
Again.
think it's a surprise P1. And no, it'll be a deserved P1 and a surprise P2. That's my guess.
Okay. Now we need to talk about the Canadiana that we never talk about.
Yeah. Lance Stroll.
There's like so many YouTubers that I watch. There's one specifically, I know this might be slanderous if I get this wrong, but Josh Ravel, I think he wants Lance Stroll to get a P1 and he predicts one every single year, and it just doesn't happen. So, do you think Lance Stroll is winning a race next year?
No.
I agree.
I just hope it's better than what this season was. Like, I don't even know what happened to him this season.
He was like consistent, but
consistently mediocre. It wasn't anything special.
It really wasn't. It wasn't like a Carlos Sainz where we were like genuinely like, what's going on here? He's surprising us. It was either like the bottom of the points or out of the points, pretty much, for him.
And the thing is, it's like, we know that his dad is the boss, so it's really like he's probably not going to fire his son.
No.
Look at this. The cat's trying to eat the pom-pom. This is lovely. Clover. But I seriously think if he's not performing, seriously, like, what do you do? It's because in the grand scheme of things, is Lance Stroll really deserving a spot? If he's going to prove next year that it's another mediocre season for him, why does he get a seat and like someone like Oscar Piastri doesn't?
Yeah. It's true. Like, I just don't know what the answer is, because you're right. They're going to have to come to a decision point on who gets what seats and how it's all going to work together. And right now it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
And like, they're not probably making that much money because they're not performing that well. And if you want to perform better, you might need a better driver.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be some tough decisions. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I think that's the challenge of having these teams that rely so heavily on the dads, because like, what do you end up doing? Like, I have no idea. Like, I truly have no idea. How do you even
No, I'm definitely like 75% thinking Lawrence Stroll would never fire his son. Yeah. Even if he was
70%, hey? So there's a 30% possibility.
I'm 30% thinking he's ruthless.
Well, he's a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
So I think to some degree, like, you have to be ruthless. I think, yeah, he might consider it like it's just a business decision to cut ties with his own son. Ooh.
And honestly, maybe Lance understands that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and like, all these drivers understand their strengths and weaknesses. All these drivers probably have like inner thoughts about how they're doing.
Yeah.
And Lance, honestly, he might be questioning himself what happened this season. So let's see what he does next year.
Yeah. And we will say, like, out of all of the sort of three rich dad kids, he has done the best.
Yeah.
And I guess now we can talk about maybe someone that's done like the worst, which is over at Williams with Nicholas Latifi.
Oh my Lord.
The only time I feel like Caitlin and I have talked about him this season is the final race in Abu Dhabi, when he basically caused a very severe accident, which it's not his fault, the stuff that happened, but like, that's the only time I feel like Caitlin and I have talked about him at all this season.
Of all the times. And I bet you it's like he wishes he didn't have that crash either, for multiple reasons, but of all the times to have a crash.
Truly. Okay, so Williams is one of the teams I'm like curious what next year is going to look like, because I feel like they can only go up from here. However,
they had a phenomenal season with Georgie.
That's the thing. It's like the best season they've had in so long. And you know how they said, was it earlier this season that they were like, we don't need a paid driver anymore now that they got bought out? So when they said that, I was like, okay, great. Then you don't need Nicholas Latifi. Like, get another driver that can actually make you competitive, which is why you and I, like, one of my predictions was like maybe Valtteri would go to Williams, which he didn't, which we'll talk about. But I just don't know if that's accurate, because then why would you keep Nicholas Latifi?
Because remember, in our Williams sustainability episode, we mentioned the what's it called group, the Doralin group or whatever. owns them now. And they're like, why would their Leon, whatever they're called, buy into Williams? Like, what motorsport interest could they have? And then we brought up the conspiracy that maybe Latifi's dad is involved.
I mean,
And this aids to that conspiracy because if he's such a financial backer, they're not going to get rid of him.
exactly. And if they didn't need a paid driver, then you don't need Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think, unfortunately,
Unless your dad's the one that literally was the reason Dorlin bought into Williams Group.
yeah, exactly. Then what do you like? I don't know. So, with the constructors, where do you think, what position do you think Williams will be competing for?
So, okay. 8th. Their main competitor is going to be Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think Alex Albon is going to do in the Williams?
I think Alex will do okay. It won't be anything phenomenal. He might do something as good as George.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, actually. I think he'll do something.
Latifi's again, just he's not doing anything spectacular, and he won't next year. So
yeah, I think that if I were the sort of the bottom 3 teams that we're going to be talking about next, including Williams, I would just be keeping an eye on Alex Albon's qualifying, because it was like George's qualifying that really showed, oh wow, the Williams is doing better. There's like more hope for the Williams.
Going back to that Red Bull talk though, is Williams in the know of, is there a plan for Alex somewhere else already planned out? Like, are they just being a holding place for him for a season or something? I think there's a weird deal that went on. I really do.
No, I actually I agree with you. And also, what does that mean for Williams? Because let's say hypothetically, Alex does do fairly well in the Williams, like well enough that Red Bull's like, okay, we want him to be the second driver to Max. Then what the hell do you do? Like, then you spend a year developing a driver that's not staying with you.
Like, I don't think there's a good end for Williams with bringing on Alex Albon, to be honest.
No, yeah, that's a very good point. I don't think there is either. It's nice to have him back in this sport, but I also,
unless there's a plan that Valtteri is involved in 2023, I don't know, but
or is Pierre Gasly an option for Williams? Because
right,
Pierre is that he needs to be able to build a team around
him.
Yeah, like
maybe.
We know where most of the teams are building, so I just don't know. Okay, so it feels
and okay, I do want to mention on this episode that Latifi had to go on social media to write about all the hate mail and everything he's been getting, and that's unacceptable too. Like, am I impressed with him crashing and literally kind of being the reason? No, I'm not impressed. Like, I'm not gonna blame him for something. Like, can't completely blame him. No. There's the Michael Massey involved too. But
if you do feel that way, you can feel that way. You just don't have to like send him so much hate.
And don't be so rude. And like, honest to God, you cannot do nearly as good as him. We all trash talk people, right? Yeah. But in the end, like, we're not going to be nearly half as good as he is in that race car. So unless you can get in that arena and perform just as good, then you shouldn't be talking shit like that. Unless you're on a podcast like us and like only slightly throwing shade.
Yeah, you can like throw some shade, share with you and your friends, that's fine, but don't like go posting on people's comments or tweeting at them and stuff. It's just not worth it. Just don't do it. It's exhausting. Caitlin, I don't know if you can see this, but Clover's being so cute behind you.
She's a cute little one, isn't she?
Okay,
no, Shanky woke her up. Grab the hat.
Between Alex and Nicholas Latifi, I think Alex will finish higher than him in the drivers.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
For sure, without fail.
I don't think it's that hard.
How much higher? Not sure, but he will finish higher. Okay, so the next team I want to talk about is Alfa Romeo. So they are going to be getting the Ferrari engine next year again.
Yep, and they have 2 brand new drivers to the Ferrari family.
Yes. And they said that they don't need a paid driver, but then Guan Yu Zhou, we know, is bringing heavy sponsorship dollars. And also to recap, there was that
Why are these
final.
teams saying we don't need paid drivers and then doing the opposite? Like everyone can see through a facade and it just makes you look stupid.
Exactly. And there also was that
Oh.
failed deal with the Andretti driver group family thing. Let's not forget that we thought it was going to be announced in
Yeah.
Texas and it just didn't happen. So I don't know what's going on there. Regardless, what do you think in the constructors do you think they'll be aiming for? And then we'll talk about Valtteri and Guan Yu.
Yep. Eighth. I think they're not going far. I think it will be good for Valtteri will get to be like lead driver pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's Guan Yu's introduction to F1. So he's going to have a very good mentor in Valtteri. So I think developmentally for both of them, it'll be good for confidence. Career-wise, no.
Caitlin just saying what it is. I love it. Yeah, I think that they're going to be aiming for like a P8 finish next year. Alfa Romeo. I just think that's it. I think the unfortunate thing is I don't know if Valtteri will even finish in the top 10 next year. Just because of that car. And if he does,
I don't think so.
I can prove me wrong, Valtteri.
Yeah, exactly. Happily prove us wrong. But I think this is going to be like a team building year, and confidence building year for them.
Yeah. And if Guan Yu's first season in Formula One is anything like Yuki, there might be like one or two standout races. But Yuki really struggled in the first year, and so did Mick Schumacher. So I think, like Caitlin's so spot on, that this year will just be a lot of like them trying to understand how to work together, how to even work in Formula One. Valtteri's gonna have to figure out how to develop a team that doesn't have maybe as many resources or connections. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, Clover's
this is really an episode to watch on YouTube. This cat is crazy.
Chaotic. So yeah, I Valtteri will finish higher than Guan Yu for sure, unless like something crazy happens.
Right.
I don't really see that changing. I just really hope that Valtteri can build Alfa Romeo, like take everything he's seen at Mercedes and learned and experienced and really make Alfa Romeo more competitive. That would be the dream for sure. I don't know if it's going to happen though. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's a multi-year thing. They're going to have to concentrate on. It's not just a next year thing.
No. And the last team we're going to talk about is Haas. I have a sneaky feeling, Caitlin, because they didn't put any money or development into this car this year, right? Like they fully just were like, just make it drivable. That's it. I think they're the ones that we're going to see the most improvement with, but simply because right now
they have 0 points.
Yeah, the bar's on the floor. You know what I mean? So I think we'll see the most improvement with them. I think
agreed.
Like, we even through Drive to Survive, like that's all they talked about, right? It was like the cost cap, the changes coming in 2023, like that 2022. That's all they were focusing on. So they're probably like the ones to watch. I think
Mick Schumacher is the one to watch. I don't think
the one we never talk about.
Like he doesn't have the talent to be there. TBH. So we'll see some results hopefully from Mick with a better car. And that's all the hope I have for Haas.
Yeah, and I think we never talk about this person, but the second Haas driver really showed that you're spot on. No talent, should not be in this sport. What I think is so ironic though, I don't know who he interviewed with, but I just saw the headline that he gives himself a 4 out of 5 for the season in terms of
what?
I was like, are you serious? Like he has just the amount of like blue flags and thing, just a mess. He does not have the talent to be there. It's 100% because his dad has money. And unfortunately that means a great driver is not even getting the experience. Like, yes, the Haas is shit. We know the Haas is shit. But if you're not even having the opportunity to drive an F1 because some rich daddy's boy is like,
then you're not trying the cars out.
Yeah.
Right? They are very different cars from their feeder series.
Exactly. So it's kind of heartbreaking. But I do think Do you think Mick will end up on the podium? That's the
No.
real question. No.
I think Mick can get points though.
Yeah, I think Mick will finish in the points. I would love to see him next year finish in the top 10.
Yep. I don't know if that's possible, but he'll get higher than 19th, I think.
Yeah.
He who shall not be named, if he finishes lower than 21st, I think that's
Again,
an
though,
unimpressive world
Caitlin, if they're
record.
taking money from his dad, how do you fire this person? You know what I
They're in a
mean?
deal with the devil almost, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. Lawrence Stroll, I see he understands his son is like on the brink of being good.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you be he who shall not be named father and literally see him struggle this much, not clearly not be at the same level? Clearly. And you think he's going to get to that point? It's like putting, my analogy is with soccer. It's like putting a tier 4 person into a tier 1 game. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
They are going to get slaughtered.
Let's not
And that's
forget
exactly what happened.
that the person that we're talking about right now finished 21 in a
In a
driver
20
series
person.
that has 20 drivers.
Yeah.
He finished behind Robert Kubica, who was just
Two race ones.
Just drove for one race. Anyways, so we're hoping.
And I think like it's just frustrating because it is proving to be a safety risk, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So low.
Yeah, and I also don't think it's good for mixed development if it's just Mick and if it's just the Haas's that are trying to duke it out for P19, P20. That doesn't make any sense. Like Mick needs to be battling, the Alfa Romeos of Guan Yu Zhou, probably, Alex Albon, Nicholas Latifi, and hopefully beating all of them. Like he needs to. That's where he needs to be to actually have some development.
I think the car's going to be able to bring him to that point. I really do.
I think so too. Here's to hoping. So we think, this is like me summarizing everything. We think that the greatest improvement will be with 2 Ferrari engines. Hey, I guess is Haas a Ferrari engine? No, it's not.
I don't think so.
So it'll be with the Haas because they've done basically nothing all year.
Yep. It's like the stats on our website. Whenever we have a day with 0 views, the next day has 1, and you have a infinity sign growth. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And then the second team is like Ferrari, just in general, Ferrari.
I'm excited to see where Ferrari goes next year.
Yeah, I really high hopes for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other predictions before we close this episode? Do you have any maybe you're gonna wild cards that you want to predict, or another rain out you want to predict?
Oh no, I hope F1 kind of figures that out so that never happens again.
Yeah, that was bad. And also the fact that they've just offered nothing, basically.
I saw that. Yeah.
Fucking insane.
That's bad.
We're going to just put your names in a raffle for tickets. All of you spent so much money and none of you are getting refunded. That is insane.
I have a hypothesis for next year.
Okay.
More teams will come out with sustainability strategies and we will be reviewing them. But I think they missed out if they didn't come out this year with them. So
agreed. I think another, I guess, tied to the things that interest us. I think there's going to be added pressure for Formula One in general, whether it's the drivers, the teams, to the broadcasters, for diversity. And the reason why I say that is, I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, but Formula One is the fastest growing sport in North America. And frankly, we just have different standards on what we want to see in our sports. And I think they're going to be held to task pretty quickly here as they continue to expand through the North American market. So
with the new president, I hope that helps,
Yeah, I hope so too. Just something
like a fresh face at the top, maybe helping create a new vision for really coming into we're not coming into the 21st century. We're well into the 21st century. So let's act like it.
And we need to make sure there are more women in the sport, proportional to the population. Let's make everything proportional to what exists in the world, please. And I think some other predictions I have, I do think, I'm knock on wood, I don't have any wood near me. Maybe this thing? I don't know.
Looks like it might be wood.
I do think there might be one race that gets rained out again.
Oh no, don't say that. Don't put that into the
think
the atmosphere.
Do we have any like COVID related predictions? Because COVID is still a thing.
No, I think I am keeping it that I think COVID's fucking hopefully going on the in and the out.
We're moving towards
next
an endemic, which is good.
Yes. So I hope that's over. God.
More drivers getting sick. Hopefully more people in the stands at the races. No more cancellations.
No more cancellations, yeah.
For 2022. Yeah. No more cancellations of races. Caitlin, who are your title contenders?
Oh yes, okay. So
2022.
I do think that the greatness of Max and Lewis will keep them up there, but I'm gonna throw in a curveball. I'm gonna say I think Charles.
Yeah.
Golden Boy's gonna come back, I think. I think he's gonna hit his stride again. And I think that with the similar cars, he's gonna be right up there.
Yep. And I'm actually with Caitlin on this one. Max and Lewis obviously are going to be contending. I actually hope that we have more than just Charles, but I think Charles
and Lando maybe. I'm going to put it in that Lando might be a title contender.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's going to be my top four. It's like the two that we always know, and then Charles and Lando I think are the ones to watch to see how many wins they can actually get. And then I also do want Lewis to win his 8th.
Yeah.
And retire. Like I want him to win his 8th and then leave. So hopefully next year he wins his 8th. And that's just what it is.
Then we'll see what 2023 brings.
Exactly. I don't have any other predictions though. I think that it's just going to be hopefully less dramatic. Here's to hoping less drama. Everyone drive safely, no accidents, or some accidents, but just nothing too much, too painful. But yeah, I don't know. I think the giant question is just around this car, and I'm sure come the new year we'll have more information on what everything's looking like. But it's hard. It's hard to make real predictions without knowing what the vehicles are now. I heard a rumor though, Caitlin, that the Mercedes might actually be like painted silver. Like the new car might
go back, yeah.
So I'm like, interesting. Can be interesting. Obviously, the Ferrari's
but is that putting it into the universe that you come in second? I don't know. Max is wearing gold shoes now.
Oh, and he'll be driving around with number 1. Yeah. So we'll see. Those are all the predictions. So I got nothing else.
We will listen to this episode at the end of 2022 and see just how right and wrong we were.
Yeah, we might even do like a reaction video, to be honest. I was thinking it might be a good YouTube video.
Oh God.
To ourselves and
then we could see a bigger Clover.
I was gonna say the chaos of everything else. It's a good little memento. But yeah, friends, I've got nothing. We'll see you all in the new year.
Right? I guess so. Yeah. Hope you guys had a fantastic holiday break.
Yeah. And whatever predictions you have, just let us know. I might, maybe you can throw it on stories or something.
Yep. You could do stories. That could be fun.
What are your 2022 predictions and see what people say? But I don't know. Right?
I like it.
I'm curious.
Okay. Well, friends, that's it for this episode. And yeah, we'll catch you next year, I guess.
Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Get Checked.
And YouTube. Check us out on YouTube.
Oh, right. Yes. Go subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. Stay checkered, friends. And we'll see you.
And we'll talk to you later.
In the new year. Holy shit.
2022, here we come.
Oh, please be better than this year. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.